G'day guys, MFWest here, and today we have a Mythic Plus 20 Algeth'ar Academy in time. So not going to show you guys too much, just going to speak to about two things that I want to discuss before we get into the key, and that is disease build or wound build. On a tyrannical week, I think it's disease very easily. It's just very consistent damage throughout the dungeon. You don't rely on needing cooldowns such as Vile Contagion, and D&D all the time for damage. You are constantly doing damage, and you provide so much more input on bosses. And Bird and Mana Boss on higher level keys are very difficult bosses. Throughput in terms of damage is required to make those fights easier. You can't really provide that in the wound build. So for me personally, I think Disease wins on Tyrannical. On Fortified, I think you can play either or. Yes, Unholy has a very good time in the tree area and on the bridge, but honestly, it's kind of like a give or take. I would honestly, in my humble opinion, think that Disease build is the better of the two specs for Algeth'ar. But I know I've seen some pretty crazy numbers on Tree Boss and whatnot with the wound build, but hey, to each their own. Alright, without further ado, let's get straight into the video, guys. Let's go. Alrighty guys, straight into the run, pick up your mastery buff, and we're going to head into this first pool. Now, our rogue shrouds us so that we can get in without the wasps getting free jumps on everybody. It's just cleaner and there's less likely that someone will die. Straight into the pool, unfortunately the rogue dies, but we managed to get our damage out, and we're just basically doing our normal AoE rotation. Unholy Frenzy's up, Dark Transformation, Holy Bladder up, Abominum is up, and we're just spamming Epidemic, whilst weaving in Scourge Strikes to make sure that we keep Plaguebringer up, so our diseases are ramping high, and we peak at like 540k DPS. I honestly think diseases on high level tyrannical keys is perfectly fine, and honestly my preferred, build for Tyran. Especially in Algeth'ar Academy, I just think that the wound build, yes, it's great for pools like these, but it just shines a lot less on bosses, which are like 3-4 minutes on 20 plus. So yeah, disease build really good at doing everything for us, so no real complaints. The scariest thing about this pool, guys, are the wasps and the circles, the green circles. So you want to make sure that you stay really far away from the green circles, because their radius is actually a lot bigger than what it looks like. You want to kind of be like this kind of distance away from the circle. If you get hit by one as well, like, you are stunned basically, so it's not ideal, and you probably just die on like a 20 anyway, so be very careful at all times and avoid them. I usually wait, like, there's 2 sets of green swallows that go out, and then there's like a 10-second window when you can do damage. I usually wait until that window, then I go in. You'll see a lot of DPS like die early if they don't wait and get greedy. Just be careful and just play your cards safe, because you need to be alive for that pull as the Death Knight in the group. Alright, the overgrown ancient tree boss. Now this boss has been nerfed quite a few times, and honestly on Tyran is a little bit of a joke now after the nerfs. So we rotate with the tank clockwise, and the first set of ads spawn. So we throw Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation along with Unholy Frenzy into that pack, and we're basically just throwing down D&D, pressing Scourge Strike, and spamming Epidemic, and that will eliminate the pack, okay? We're going to sustain 200k DPS on this boss just by eliminating each of those ad sets. Now, it is quite scary, because the second ad set is the scary set, because that's the set that will hit the tank and put the poison debuff on him, which needs to be either kited by the tank or just dispelled by the healer. When that poison debuff gets too high, tank dies. So every offset is scary, and you kind of want to play for that and get your cooldowns ready and your shocking disclosure potions and whatnot. So yeah, be careful. Outside of that, guys, like the little tree that spawns, the branch out mechanic, you want to basically kill him as soon as possible. Stand in the healing circle and remove your debuff, your bleed, and the fight is easy. If you can do all 3 of those things, then it's very straightforward. When the little tree guy spawns, make sure you're funneling off him onto everything else, and just prio that kill on that tree. They've extended the gap between mechanics in this fight, so it's it's a lot less scary and daunting to kill. So honestly, I think it's actually one of the easiest bosses in here, to be fair. Now I'm going to skip it, go straight to the Guardian Sentry. Now this guy is hectic. Alright, so he slaps the tank. As a Death Knight, you can immune the knockback with Death's Advance, and you need to AMS as well because the actual circle hit does a lot of damage. Now, even though it's tyrannical, I'm pretty sure it does. Okay, my AMS absorbs the hit, but it's still notable damage. Like, why not just absorb the hit? On Fortified, that will start to do a bit of hurdy-gurdy there. But yeah, otherwise, like, we just pretty much throw everything into him. I actually Army of the Dead this guy, and I'm aiming to have it up before the next boss. So, if you don't have disadvance, then I would actually stay in. I would go around the pillar and line him, and be very careful of the tornadoes. Those are one shots almost. Be very scared. Now, the first Eagle pack, dude, this is like a perfect pack for Unholy. Very, very straightforward, guys. Just spamming Epidemic and committing our cooldowns. The next sets of ads, you just want to cleave off the Alpha Eagle, and yeah, just make sure you're kicking him. And that's pretty much it, guys. We're just farming our Army of the Dead back for boss. And yeah, no one really dies to these packs. Like, if you get hit by the frontal, then it's almost certain death. But yeah, these are really straightforward mobs. There's nothing else to be said, really. Use these mobs as an opportunity to, you know, use your cooldowns before boss. And just remember, like, when the boss starts, there's a minute before the actual first kind of damage ramp phase. So you've got time. You can press your cooldowns, like, by all means. Also, be careful when the birds land. Like, let your tank kind of pick up aggro. Unless your rogues is tricksing, like, you got a hunter, like, these birds will automatically aggro to whatever hits them first. So just be mindful of that. Don't just, like, throw your abilities. Be very careful. Alright, so this is the last bird pack. We've got 2 Alpha Chad Eagles here. And we're just going to make sure that they die. And as we can see here, I'm holding on to Dark Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation Unholy Frenzy, which is perfectly fine. And we're on to, arguably, I think, the second hardest boss in here. Okay, now, you can even argue he's the hardest, to be honest. Bird boss. Okay, so there's a few things to note here. The first minute of the fight is super chill, okay? You're just dealing with the screeches and you're just getting ready to pull your resources for the first damage amp phase, okay? So the Savage Screech is what is scary. That's coming up now, whatever it's called. Deafening Screech, sorry. The pecs on the tank do hurt him, so the healer's gonna probably be like keeping him under control. And now, the Deafening Screeches, we can AMS those, and it almost completely nullifies the hit. So this thing here, you can AMS it, but on the first 2 stacks, like, it's just not worth bothering. It's the 3rd and 4th, if your group chooses to go into the fight, that are very, very scary. Okay, so save defensives for Deafening Screech. Look at that. It's a lot of damage, and you want to help your healer in every way possible. You can pretty much AMS every single one, okay? And that's the only damage that you have to deal with in the fight. The rest is, honestly, the rest is like, you can ignore any other mechanics because you should be dodging them. Now, the orbs spawn, and it's a good timing because we just finished Thundering, so I go here. This is why DK is so shit at this. I go and pick up the furthest away orb and run to the spot, dodge the frontal, but my team has already thrown these orbs in, and for some reason it's not sending. So I send the orb, and we get a damage amp phase here. Now, when just going back here, let me just check that we actually get all 3. Interesting. I think we actually miss out there. Oh no, the boss is stunned. Okay, so we get all 3, and my damage amp is just a bit slow. Like, I honestly think DK should be running the closest one to the orb, and that's my mistake for going for the furthest one. But yeah, I think I should have just done my damage. You army pretty much as the phase is starting, because it takes time for your Army of the Dead to get up, and then you as you connect with the boss, you can press Unholy Frenzy. But yeah, get all your cooldowns going because it's a very strict window of time that you have to do damage, and like, if you do it right, you'll probably do like 40 to 50% of his health in that window. No joke, like, you'll do a lot of his HP in that. Be very, very careful of the frontals. Now, after you drop that phase, be very mindful where my cursor is. The Deafening Screeches start to stack here. You can reset this stack by throwing in the orbs to the other goal, or the other hoop, and that will engage the haste phase. So we are on, that was the 4th hit. It almost killed someone, so we throw it in and we activate the final phase. Now, it's a bit of a race here, guys, because the Deafening Screeches will now stack and you have no way to reset them. So this is it. A lot of groups will go to 4 stacks and then engage this phase. This phase is shit though, because there's a lot of shit to dodge, It's terrible for casters because of the uptime they have, but I mean, we have a Boomy, he's topping damage, so he's doing completely fine. But you know, as a melee, there's no reason for you to get hit by anything here, guys. Play safe, play smart, and just be mindful. Now, there's rumors that where you land on the platform from that other position where you killed that the sentry, the tornadoes actually don't really get onto this platform because it's like a landing area, it's like a safe zone. So we're tanking the boss here. Now, that could be a strategy moving forward. I'm not sure, but it seems to be working. We're chilling in terms of the boss. So no worries. And as you can see here, I I probably should have AMS'd that, but I decided to greet it and keep my AMS. Alright, so second boss down, 14 minutes left, looking pretty good on the timer. Now into this section here, we're going to work on the worms. Now these are not really a problem for us because they prioritize jumping to ranged, I believe. And then they do a frontal after they land. You do not want to be in that frontal. Do not be near that shit. I'm going to commit all my CDs here into this pool. This is a big pool. And you're going to make sure you watch your feet. This boss is pretty much getting you ready. Or these ads are getting you ready for like the next boss. So yeah, we're doing some pretty good damage overall in the group. And down they go. He has a lot of HP actually on Fortified especially. This mob, the Arcane Ravager, has so much HP. I think it's like on a fortified 20, he has like 14 mil HP. It's just ridiculous. The ambushes don't really hurt that much because it's Tyrant, so we just kill them off and we go on. Now, these packs here, the Mana Fiends, we all have our own kick, so I'm Star. And we're going to kick, we're going to pet stun, we're going to blind, we're going to do everything to make sure these don't get off as well. So, yeah, making sure if you lock your mob down with those three things that I said, kick, pet stun, blind, grip if you need to, you're perfectly fine. Those should be dead before anything scary happens. Okay, an exact similar pack to the first one that we got to on the platform. We're going to make sure we're cleaving off the Ravager and just pumping damage here. Throw all your CDs. Army's on the cooldown because I'm saving it for the boss. And we're just pumping. These are all... Now remember, this is a fix for this week is Raging, so a little bit scary when things get low HP. But for the most part, it's okay. So, yeah. Honestly, not too bad. These pools aren't too scary on Tyrant. It's mostly Fort that's even more scarier. And then we'll move into the next section, which is the mobs around the boss. Now, some groups prioritize doing this area first at the start of the key. I would definitely be interested in trying that out. But there's like two main things to worry about here, the books and the Mana Fiends, okay? So making sure that someone has a kick for the book every time it's up, and controlling the Mana Fiends via stuns, CC, and kicks. So that's all you need to do with these packs. If you lock that down, then they're just easy DPS and damage. So yeah, not too much of a problem. Yeah, there's nothing else much to it. It starts getting very spicy when multiple surges go off in the Mana Fiends, and the book's just pumping. So yeah, I throw all my cooldowns here, which is perfectly fine because they're probably going to be up for the boss. Maybe not Slappy Hands, but like everything else will be up for the boss, which is fine. Yeah, army's already ready to go, and we have Lust as well. So now I honestly classify this as the hardest boss in the dungeon, and the reason being is there's like multiple big hitting abilities that are unavoidable. Now, when I say unavoidable, like as for your group, like most DPS can't avoid it. We have access to AMS, which lets us deal with one of the hardest hitting abilities in the fights. And on Tyrant, it's doing like, without AMS, it's doing like 60-70% of your HP. And we have a lot of HP as a Death Knight with Veteran of the Third War. So let's see. Army, Lust, Pot, everything, guys. We want to kill this as soon as possible. Now, the orbs, our tank mostly soaks up these orbs, but we do help out if it gets a bit tricky for him to soak. And Mana Bombs. Now, this is the hardest hitting ability of the fight. Now, I AMS that, and I literally don't take any damage. Okay, so you can pretty much AMS like almost every second one. Here comes another one in 5 seconds. You have to make sure you're using defensives for these Mana Bombs. Like, it's the only way that you die is if you're like half HP and a Mana Bomb is about to go off, you have to press something. Like, think of Mana Bomb as the only way for you to die in this fight. Now, the other way that you can die in the fight is the second mechanic, and that's Arcane Fissure. So all you do is it pushes you back, and then you run and you dodge your pulls. It's not much damage, the Fissure, when it hits. The bombs are still way scarier. I would not dedicate CDs, defensive CDs, for the Fissures, only the bombs. So I have AMS in 8 seconds, bombs up in 8 seconds. Excellent. Yeah, that's it. Like, if you stay healthy, if you avoid damage, if you soak orbs, this fight is free. But again, the higher the key, the harder the bombs are going to hit. And if there are classes that don't have like access to quick defensives, like, they're going to find this very, very scary. Also, Grievous on this would be gross because you're just constantly taking damage. But yeah, otherwise, these pulls on the ground look to be disappearing very slowly, so doesn't make the room too awkward. But we finished the fight on 57k DPS. Pretty much the group's doing a collective amount of 50k deeps each, which is really good. So it dies in 2 minutes and 50 seconds, which is pretty solid for Tyran. Again, though, we are dedicating Lust. So double pull here. This is everything here. This is a very, very big pull. So we each have our assignments to stop. And yeah, I blind first, and then kick, and then stun, and then we're just pretty much going to try and nuke these before they get their next wave of casts off, and we do it. A massive 360k DPS there with the disease build, and that is why DK fucking loves this dungeon. Yeah, honestly perfect. We're sitting pretty cruisy here, guys, like 9 minutes left on the timer, and we just have the last area to deal with. We've only need like 19% left, and we have what used to be one of the best areas to get like count, and now it's actually one of the hardest. So guys, these Spectral Invokers, the Arcane Missiles, hit so much harder, guys. On Fort, these missiles need to be kicked. Whoever they're targeting is going to die if they get a full channel off. Outside of that, the Echo Knights do this Blade Storm, and unfortunately that means that you have to either duck in and out of melee or just stop it. Now, there are a few ways to do this. You can grip the actual Blade Storm. That will stop the Blade Storm altogether. You can stun it, you can blind it. Yeah, I would only be doing this kind of like micro shit when there's like multiple ones up or you have a melee heavy group. The next thing to note is the Arcane Bomb. So I just had it there for a second. You don't want to kick it. You want to let it go through onto whoever the hell it is on the DPS or healer. They will then move into melee and stack that Arcane Bomb on the enemy. And it actually does like very significant damage. So it's a way to nuke the mobs. So this is the last pull here, guys. There's 2 invokers in this pack, so this is scary. So I dedicate all my cooldowns here to kill this. And yeah, we just need stops for the missiles, and we'll be okay. So a little bit spicy, but I'm holding on to my defensive CDs. Most importantly, just watch who that Arcane Missiles is targeting. Tank, it's okay on a Tyran. If it's raging, like, be very scared. As you can see there, I stopped the Blade Storm by death gripping. And yeah, it's pretty much straightforward. This last boss, this is it. We kill this boss and the dungeon is free. We've got... Sorry, my headset died. We've got 6 minutes left on this boss, so not really that difficult to do. Now, this boss is really straightforward. So the main thing that will kill you on this fight is the frontal, as well as the vacuum. Vacuum, simple, run out. Frontal, you literally have like 2.5 seconds to kill. And yeah, that's literally it. So be very, very careful. And you do not want to get hit by the frontal at all. That's very, very scary. Otherwise, there's a stacking dot mechanic that will give damage to the people in your party. As you can see right now over here, I have 2 stacks. Whenever an ability hits you, you gain a stack. When you hit 3 stacks, you drop a puddle. Now, there are actually mechanics in this fight you can't avoid, so you will naturally stack up over time, but you can avoid the vacuum. You can avoid the actual energy bomb that goes on people. I'm sitting on 2 stacks for a long time here, guys. Now, if the energy bomb goes on you, I've tried to AMS it, but on high Tyrant, it just goes through the AMS. It's too hard of an ability. So, unfortunately, you know, you're eventually going to drop a puddle. And where you drop that puddle is very important. You don't want to drop it next to other puddles. Your tank wants to be moving away from puddles when they can. Pop minor defensives for the bombs. I probably should have just eaten that bomb because I just lost the damage stack ability there. And that's pretty much the fight, guys. Like, be mindful of your space, of where these energy bombs have been dropped. And otherwise, yeah, you're chilling. Pretty straightforward boss. The easiest boss in here on Tyrant, I reckon. Like, Tree poses more of a threat than this dragon. And that is pretty much going to be it, guys. 52k DPS on this boss. Rogue's popping off on 60. We're chilling. About 3 minutes left in the dungeon, and that's pretty much going to be it. And I actually think a puzzle box drops as well, which I gave to the tank because I already have one. And there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions down below, pop in the comments down below, and I'll reach out to you guys. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and catch you guys later. See ya.